Okay, first we're gonna read one of the mantra from this book, which is called Ved Vivechan. Mantra number 62 from Rig Ved. अग्नि जहां उपयोगी है वहां पर भयंकर हानिकारक भी है. And we can see that these days, right? इससे सावधान रहने की आवश्यकता है. अतः निम्नलिखित वेद मंत्र द्वारा जन को सावधान किया गया है. क्रव्यादम अग्निम प्रहिनोमि दूरम. मैं मांस भक्षक अग्नि को दूर हटाता हूँ. देवों के प्रताप से जग में सुख अपार. देवों के प्रकोप से होत अपार संहार. अग्नि का प्रकोप बहुत जग देखत कई बार. बस्ती में लगे आग जब हानि होत अपार. दावा नल की आग से भयभीत सब लोग. दावा नल की आग में गिर जाएं बहु लोग. बड़वा नल की आग से परिचित हैं कुछ जीव. लावा उगलत समुद्र से नष्ट हो बहु जीव. स्मरण अभी एक बात है आई. वज्रपात तो भयंकर भाई. आकाशी अग्नि जब चली आए वह पृथ्वी ऊपर मृत्यु लाए. Okay, so दावा नल is the forest fire. Badwa nal is fire in the ocean. And then Akashi Agni, when we have the lightning. Okay, they are all different roots of Agni. Okay. Okay, let's meet our Rishi Astavakra. Today's chapter is start of chapter 18. And this chapter tells us the spiritual goal. And this goal cannot be explained directly, because it's beyond the realm of words. It transcends intellect. अगर हम सोचें कि बुद्धि से जान जाएंगे, नहीं, बुद्धि cannot capture it. It's beyond buddhi. So we will never be able to intellectually apprehend, because it lies beyond intellect. But still, intellectual students like us, we demand an explanation, because we have not gone beyond intellect yet. So we want to know intellectually. And that's why this Rishi has given us a very exhaustive description. This is the longest chapter. If I'm not incorrect, it's 100 verses, the longest. Exhaustive description, comprehensive definition, and he really gives a very lucid exposition of the goal in this chapter. And the method he has adopted, which is a very effective method. Almost all the masters in India, they have adopted that method. And that method is making us observe very closely the physical behavior and the mental attitudes of a liberated person. Lord Krishna adopted the same method. A lot of other scriptures, the Upanishads, they do the same thing. So they say, look at these people, how did they behave? How did they live? Because they were liberated, and you are going towards the same. So watch them. A sage in action is the infinite reality visibly demonstrated. We don't see God, but we see the sages. So we see sages acting, but how the sage is acting? So that's why I said the mental attitude and the physical behavior of a sage. How and why the sage discovers so much peace and happiness, even in the middle of the adverse circumstances, miserable conditions. or even under grave provocation. So this is the technique Rishi Astavakra has adopted. So through a sage in action, the unearthly beauties of perfection. So this is this supreme goal. So in summary, these verses are packed with the secret instructions to all students of deep meditation. How we can proceed further, how we can remove the ignorance or go beyond ignorance and burst into the blissful infinitude, our real nature. So there's a wealth of thoughts scattered in this chapter. Very rich, profound. So these verses in this chapter, they really give us a free ride to the spiritual goal. So if we read them and understand them in that light, we'll see that by the end of this chapter, which will take us some time, 100 verses, it might take us more than 10 weeks. But by the end of this chapter, even the students who have not reached that goal, they will also see the rise of a sense of devotion and reverence towards all sages. And this is called Purna Swara Vigraha. So in other words, they will enjoy the infinite bliss, Purna, which is the nature of the self. Puran Swaras Vigraha. Because we will understand that the sages or the yogis who stay in that spontaneous samadhi in life will see the mental attitudes of those sages. And that's how we will get enough courage to move towards this path. So let's look at what Ashtavakraji is saying in the very first verse. Yasye bodh udyay tavat swapanvat bhavati brahma tasmai sukhe krupay nama shantaye tejase. Yasye, of which bodh udyay, at the dawn of knowledge. See, bodh is the knowledge, udyay, when it arises at the dawn of knowledge. Tavat, all, swapanvat, like a dream. In other words, unreal. Bhavati becomes Brahm, delusion. Thus made to that Sukhe Rupai, which is embodiment of bliss, Sukh ka roop, Namaha, salutations, Shantai, serene, Tej se, effulgent. Ashtavakarji said, salutations to that, which is the embodiment of bliss. Serenity, effulgence, with the dawn of whose knowledge all delusions become unreal as a dream. So the external marks of the religiosity are only physical. And the deep devotion and the reverence, they are emotional. And when somebody explains it to us intellectually, that is called intellectual aspects of spiritual life. But over here, he's talking about that. First of all, he says, I do the namaskar, I salute. Salute to whom? The embodiment of bliss, serenity, effulgence. And this knowledge has arisen from that. With the help of this knowledge, all the delusions are gone. Arjun said the same thing to Lord Krishna. My delusions are gone. I will do as you say. So he says over here, the delusions become unreal as a dream. There's no reality to it. Just like when we wake up from a dream, we know that that was a dream, no matter how good it was. That's why it's called a dream. We don't try to dissect it. Intelligent person will never dissect the dream because it's a dream. There's no reality to it. So the seat of the Atma is indicated here as the substratum. So when he says adhishthai, substratum, so on seeing this, delusion is gone. We often use the example of a rope and a snake. Once you see the rope, delusion about the snake is gone. So now by seeing the Atma, knowing the Atma, all the delusions are gone. Or the realizing the self, the misconceptions of the ego, and immediately. It doesn't take much then. It's not that there's a time period after that. Once you see it instantly. You turn the light on and you see it's just a rope. And delusion is gone. Shankaracharya ji defines this same truth. He says, Satya anrit vastuhu abhed pratiti adhyasaha. He says the illusion of seeing no distinction between the real and false is a superimposition. Okay, so you are not clear about what is real, what is unreal, but once you see it, you are clear about it. So that's how this Rishi is opening this great chapter for us. Then in the second verse he says, Arjetvaha akhilan arthan bhogan apnoti pushkalan na hi sarva parityagam antaren sukhi bhavet. Arjitvaha, acquiring, arjit karna. Akhilan, all. Arthan, worldly objects. Bhogan, enjoyments. Apnoti, attains. Pushkalan, abundant. Nahi, not surely. Sarva parityagam. Antaren, without the renunciation of all. Sarv is all, parityag, renunciation, antaren, without. Sukhi means happy, bhavet means become. One gets plenty of enjoyments by acquiring the manifold objects of the senses. Surely one cannot be happy without renouncing them all. When we just read it superficially, it sounds as a contradiction. Because the first line says, positively declares that there is joy in the sense objects. But in the second line, it says that happiness cannot be without renunciation of them all. So that's why we got to understand these two different terms used. Sukhi means happy, bhogan means enjoyment. So confusion in our mind is generated because we are not alert enough to distinguish between the enjoyment and the happiness. Happiness is the goal sought by every human mind. Happiness. Because our real nature is happy. God is embodiment of the happiness. But we think that happiness comes from enjoyment of the sense objects. This is a misunderstanding about the happiness. And we make the sense enjoyments as our goal. We often think that person who has a bigger house or a better car or more money or better position is more successful. All that can give us bhog padarth. That's why he used the word bhogan. And nobody will deny that there are limited glimmers of enjoyment when the sense organs come in contact with the sense objects. When we demand a total satisfaction, our happiness, we don't feel fully satisfied or fully happy from the sense objects. Either we'll find somebody who has more than us and there goes our happiness, or we get tired of that and there the happiness diminishes. And these sages of the olden time, they recognized it, they knew it, and they put it in the words for us so that we can practice it. That's why in the second line he said, in the renunciation of all sense pursuits lies the path to permanent and satisfying happiness. We just don't want a temporary sense gratification. We want the eternal, all-pervading happiness. See, the desires create mental agitation. And a mind agitated is a mind in sorrow. So mind which is full of sorrow or even have a small amount of sorrow cannot be considered a happy mind. So if there's a desire of any kind, there is a glimmer of sorrow. So by renouncing the desires, the thoughts subside. And a quiet mind is itself the glow of happiness. So that's why he said, Nahi sarv parityagam antren sukhi bhavet. So we got to work on reducing our desires. Maybe we cannot finish them right now, but work on reducing them. Then we'll see that reduced agitations. And when the agitations are reduced, joy has increased. And that's what we want. Here we thought that by having more, acquiring more, protecting more, we'll have happiness. But he is telling us no. By letting go of these antaren, you will be happy. Beautiful verse. Let me read it again. One gets plenty of enjoyment by acquiring the manifold objects of the senses. So he is not denying that we will not get some satisfaction. If I eat good food, tasty food, my tongue will like it. But my mind won't be happy if I continue eating it. I will feel like throwing up afterwards if I eat too much. So that's why he said in the second line, surely one cannot be happy without renouncing them all. The key word is all over here. Sarv. Because if we renounce a little, sure we'll be happy a little bit more. So it's all depends how much we are renouncing. And this renouncement is inside our mind. This is called detachment, renunciation. So least desires, least agitations, and maximum joy. This is the formula, guys. No desires is a state of thoughtlessness, which is the state of infinite bliss, the self. Because we want our mind, this lake of our mind, to be calm and still and clear. If the desires are there, passions are there, it's going to keep on moving and we won't be able to recognize ourselves. So in the absence of all objects, in the deep sleep state of consciousness, there is joy for all, everywhere. In fact, all the moment of enjoyment, there's no presence of the object. There's only the experience of the bliss, which is the very nature of the self. So after this verse, I don't think there's anything else to be known. But since he continued, so we got to continue too. Okay. Number 3. कर्तव्ये दुख मार्तंड ज्वाला दग्ध अंतर आत्मनः कुतः प्रशम पीयूष धारा सारम ऋते सुखम. कर्तव्ये दुख मार्तंड ज्वाला दग्ध अंतरात्मा. Of one whose inner equipment, antaratma is inner equipment, has been scorched by the heat of sun, of sorrow of his deeds. Kartavya is the deeds, dukh is the sorrow. Martand is the sun. Okay? So whose inner equipment has been scorched by the heat, jwala dagd, it's burning with that heat, whose inner equipment has been scorched by the heat of sun, of sorrow, of his deeds. Kutaha, where is prasham piyush dhara saram rite, except in the continuous shower of the nectar of desirelessness. Continuous. Here and there we have a little desirelessness, but continuous shower of the nectar of desirelessness. So, this is piyush. Piyush means amrit. That means a nectar. Sukham, happiness. One whose inner equipment has been scorched by the heat of the sun of sorrow arising from his deeds, the actions. In fact, he used the word kartavya over here. Actions. Where can he enjoy happiness? Except in the continuous nectarine shower of desirelessness. A mind that has been stormed by the passionate surge of the continuous lashing waves of desires can calm itself only when desirelessness comes to play therein. Otherwise, continuously we think, I need to do this. I need to have it. I need to go there. That is a storm. The storm of Rajsikta. So this is a very typical example of the pictorial style of Sanskrit literature. So when you read something like this, the picture comes in front of you. Lord Krishna used that again and again in Bhagavad Gita too. He keeps on painting the picture of a Jnani, of a Bhagat or a Karam Yogi for us. So that's why this Rishi is also saying, in the scorching heat of the summer, what really happens? It's very hot. What will really satisfy us? A shower of a cold water. Over here he says that shower of the cold water is desirelessness. As long as this discriminating knowledge has not dawned in a person, it has to suffer its endless restlessness. That's why it's often said that tranquility of the mind and inner peace are the rewards of wisdom and right understanding. When we understand it rightly. But as long as we say, I am the doer, I have to do this, I'm supposed to do this, then there's a passion, agitation, restlessness. And in that kind of a mind, if you have a mind like that, you can never find peace or happiness. Okay? Bhava ayam bhavna bhava. Bhavna matraha. Na kinchit parmarthata. Na asti abhava swabhavanam. Bhav abhav vibhavinam. Bhav. Bhav means the universe. Ayam means this. Bhavna matra. Mere mode of thinking. Na kinchit. Not anything. Paramartha. In reality. Na asti. Not is. Abhava. Non-existent. Swabhava nam, inherent nature, swabhav. Bhav, abhav, vibhavinam, in the existent and the non-existent. Bhav and abhav. So this universe is but a mode of thinking. Don't we say, as we think? That's how this world is. Some people say that this world is beautiful. Who is deciding that? Their thoughts decide that. The other people say, no, life is so difficult. Thoughts. This universe is but a mode of thinking. In reality, it is nothing. The inherent nature of the existent and of the non-existent are never lost. So existent means the self. Non-existent means the universe, the Prakriti. So the universe is but a mode of thinking. Bhav ayam bhavna matra. This part of this verse has become a famous saying in the mouths of the Vedantic scholars. It's a very common saying. Bhav ayam bhavna matra. Okay, so this universe is but a mode of thinking. So on awakening to the reality, when the mind is hushed from all these thoughts, the magic of the names and form, they roll away. And the student realizes, in reality, it's nothing. Na kinchit paramarthata. Don't we see that sometimes we are arguing about something with somebody, and when the truth dawns, we say, it was nothing. Why were we arguing? It was nothing. Because a person just imagines that it is so big, but in reality, it's nothing. So that's what this Rishi is saying. Na kinchit paramarthata. Bhava ayam bhavana matram na kinchit paramarthata. A deep knowledge in this, just one short line. So that's why this Rishi Astavakra declares here the great philosophical truth. in the next line also. He says, existent and the non-existent, both can never lose their individual nature. That's what it really means. Because Atma cannot be destroyed. It cannot change. This is the reality. The self is eternal, permanent, changeless, and infinite. This is the reality. In all the Upanishads also, Bhagavad Gita also, this is what we see. And when we realize it, this is what we'll see. This will become our knowing that the self is eternal. So the universe or the Prakriti is non-eternal, impermanent, ever-changing, and finite. Neither of them can change their essential nature. This is their sabhav. Okay, so remember, the self alone is real and it will ever remain real. The world of plurality is ever unreal and never can it be real. Or another way you can understand, self is existent, the world is non-existent. And both of them can never change their sabhav. Now let me read this again so that you understand each word. Say, profound statements in these two lines. Bhava em bhavna matra na kinchit parmarthata. Na asti abhava swabhavanam bhav abhav vibhavinam. This universe is but a mode of thinking. In reality, it is nothing. The inherent nature of the self and the universe are never lost. Okay? So self cannot be unreal. It is real. And then the nature or the universe or this pluralistic world or the Prakriti, no matter how you want to call it, it can never be real. It is unreal. Unreal in the sense it keeps on changing. There's no permanence in it as such. Na duram na cha sankochat labdvam ev atmanaha padam nirvikalpam nirayasam nirvikaram niranjanam. Another beautiful verse. Na duram, not far or inaccessible. Na means not, cha means and, sankochat, limited. Labdhavam, ever attained. Ev means indeed, atmanaha padam, the nature of the self. Nirvikalpam, absolute. Niryasam, effortless. Nirvikaram, immutable. Niranjanam, stainless. The self which is absolute, effortless, immutable, and stainless is not far away. That means inaccessible. Nor is it limited. That means unattainable. It is indeed ever attained. Somebody has a question?
Tripat, if you want to unmute yourself.
It's okay. Let me finish this.
Okay,
Maybe at in 10 more minutes I'll be done with this. Then we can have question and answers. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
So it is indeed ever attained. So its absolute nature of the Atma is explained over here. It is Niranjanam, the last word, stainless. What does stainless mean? That means it is beyond all passions and desires. So desires are not in the Atma. Where do the desires reside? Desires could be in our indriyas, could be in our mind. So desires are also always part of the Prakriti, not of the Atma. So that's why it's called Niranjanam. See, there is a perceptions of the body, there's the emotions of the mind, or there could be decisions made by the intellect. Those are called all exertions. That's why it's said over here, Atma is effortless. There's no effort made by the Atma. So all the equipments make the effort. And I am not the equipment. So the Atma, the reality is explained here, effortless, nirayasam. Because when we transcend all the equipments, and when the ego surrenders completely and disappears into the vision of the reality, there's no effort. So effortless. And this is the great state, which is our own real nature. And that's why he says it's not far away. It is not inaccessible to anyone. It is accessible to us all. We don't have to do much for it. In fact, to be successful in the worldly endeavors, we have to make an effort. To know ourselves, there's no effort needed. It's effortless. And it's accessible to us all. And it's accessible to us right now. Right where we are. Because this is our real nature. That's why he said the limited alone is attainable. With our equipments, the self is infinite, therefore unlimited. Actually, it is unattainable. Because why it is said it's unattainable? It is very being in us. That's who we are. How can we attain it? We can attain something which we are not. This is who we are. So in that sense, it's very often said that it's unattainable. Because there is never a time when we are away from it. It is indeed ever attained. In our delusions, we recognize not the constant presence of our divine self. In the Mundak Upanishad, the Rishi said, actually he roars with this statement, Durat sudure tade antikecha pashyat swahev nihitam guhyayam. He says, further than the farthest, it is here within the body. So it's a dur also, it's a samip also. Durat usa dure. Further than the farthest, it is here within the body. The sages realize it verily in this life as fixed in the heart. It's right here. We can attain it. It's attainable, but still it's unattainable because it's not something we need to attain. It's nothing other than us. That's why there is a contradiction in these statements sometimes. But we got to understand it properly. Let's do one more verse and then I'll stop. Number 6. Vyamoh matra virtahu savrup adan matrata vit shokaha virajante niravarna drishtaya. Vyamoh matra virtahu. As soon as illusion ceases. Swarup Adan Matrata. As soon as the self is realized, see, when the illusion ceases, self will be realized. Vit Shokaha, free from misery. Virajantehe, shine. Niravarna Drishtyaha, those whose understanding is fully unveiled. Niravarna, that means that veiling has been removed. Drishtya means the vision. And in other words, the wise. Okay, so understanding which was covered, when it gets removed, when you can see it clearly, you are wise. Those whose understanding is fully unveiled. As soon as illusion ceases and the self is realized, they shine free from misery. Remember, I told you in the beginning, he's going to give us the pointers, how we can recognize these people. What are the qualities of the sages who have achieved this? Vit Shokaha, free from misery. Desireless. When you are desireless, of course you'll be free from misery. Miseries are only from the desires. So the self, which is the essential nature of the seeker, is not realized by him only because of his ego and its illusion in him. Because as an ego, we stay preoccupied with our own miseries. Miseries are always from the ego. Why did somebody say this to me? So always from those hats which we are wearing. So he is preoccupied with his own miseries and his understanding is clouded by tamas or shattered by rajas. So wise person, he has risen above these two moods of the mind. He has sublimated those moods. His contemplativeness has increased. And that contemplative mind, during moments of its meditation, cannot avoid discovering its own illusions. And he removes them all. And when he removes these illusions, what he finds? His own light. So niravarna drishtya, veiling is all removed. Clouds have been removed. With the flow of the wind and all we see is the sun. The sun which was already there, but the clouds just, they were hiding it. So these are the clouds of our own ignorance. We have to just learn how to remove them. So that's why he said in the previous verse, it's not dur, it's not far. It's closer than anything else. So the eternal reality behind them all. Such perfect students. He says they shine in their own glory. Virajante, they shine in their inner glory of their directly experienced spiritual essence. It's not that somebody has to tell them and give them a title. Their own glory, because the avarna has been removed and they shine free from misery. See how many pointers we are getting? We did only 6 verses. We have gotten so many pointers of a goal. This is a goal not just for few. This is the goal for all of us. And if we just believe in it, understand it, contemplate upon it, then we can achieve it sooner. So that's what he said. Those whose understanding is fully unveiled. Little bit unveiling does get done here and there. Sometimes when we are in the company of a guru, we do feel that. They say, little covering has been removed. But over here he says, understanding is fully unveiled. As soon as illusion ceases and the self is realized, they, the wise people, shine free from misery. And we know that when we are miserable, there's no shine in us. Look at your face in the mirror when you are miserable. Sometimes you may not even recognize your own face. Or when you're angry, look at your face. Over here, he says, you will shine, and we all want to shine in our own beauty. Okay, so we'll stop it here. I know you must have some questions, and at the end, we'll have a little chanting also. So we'll start with number 4. Yes, Tripat.
Hersh, namaste.
Namaste.
I just wanted to make a comment on the number 4. वो जो भवम्य भावना मात्रो न किंचित कर्मा. That is same as 2:16 in Gita. Nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sat. है ना?
Yes, yes, yes. That's right. Because the the truth is the same. A different time, different ratios for different students. They try to use different terminology, but it's the same thing. Okay. Yes, you are right. Okay. Who else?
Raj Mittal.
Raj, unmute yourself.
Yeah, just इसको ठीक कर रही हूँ. Hersh, you had mentioned in the beginning Puran Svaras Vigrah. Can you please explain the meaning again?
Oh, that one. Yeah, you will see this a word coming in the verses also. But over here, it really means Puran means complete. Swaras, your own nectar. And Vigrah is always a form. Okay?
Vigrah is a form.
Yeah, Vigrah. Yeah. Yeah. So even in this form, while you are in this form, you can feel that complete, infinite bliss. Okay, and we'll go through this when the verse comes out. So I just wanted to point it out to you that this is one of the goal. Okay, or part of this goal which takes us towards that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prem, unmute yourself.
Who is that?
Prem Mehta. Prem, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, Prem?
Yes.
Oh, Prem Mehta. Okay. All right.
Hershey, did you say that the perception is done by the body?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we perceive that we are the body.
No, I thought, you were saying that Atma is desireless, emotions are of the mind, decisions are of the intellect, and
the perceptions are of the body.
I thought it was the mind who perceived it.
Yeah, but like how do we perceive our body?
Or how we perceive our body.
Yes.
I see.
We are the body.
Okay.
In that sense.
I thought you were saying the perceptions are made by the body.
No, they're not made by the body, but we just, mind thinks we are the body.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, in that sense I said that.
Okay. Thank you.
And emotions are always in the mind. All these emotions which come, they arise from the body, or from the mind, right? So bottom line is that we got to understand these are all the equipments, and we are not the equipment. We are neither the body, nor the mind, nor the intellect. These are only the tools. Okay. Anybody else?
I love the way you, I just want to thank you. You explained that effortless and effort so beautifully. It has always been a struggle in the head.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is effortless.
Yeah. Only when you're not in the equipments, no?
Yeah.
That I loved, because we are in the equipment and we think we have to be relaxed, but we cannot be relaxed if we are in those areas.
We have to just learn how to detach.
हाँ, वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. Thank you for that.
Good, I'm glad. Anybody else?
Sujata. You have to unmute yourself.
Unmute, please.
Okay. I was going to say I like the distinction between bhog and sukh. It was really,
yes,
it's really useful to explain to yourself.
Yeah.
What bliss is.
Yeah, exactly. Bhog and sukh, definitely, because normally we think sukh is in the bhog.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But sukh is when we are done with the bhog.
Yes.
We detach from the bhog.
Yes.
And all our life we've been running after the bhog. More and more and more. And that's where the misery has come.
The bhog makes us rogi. I remember.
Yes. I always tell you, yogi, bhogi, rogi. See, yogi is who is united with the God. Rogi is who is united with the bhog. Bhog will make us rogi. It will make us sick. Okay. So we got to have that clarity, because bhog, we are doing it only for the body, and we are not the body. We got to eat enough to sustain this body. Okay. Got to keep that in our mind constantly. So that's why he just keeps on bringing our attention towards the goal with the help of these 100 verses. Okay, these are beautiful verses. They all individually also they are taking us towards that. But if we just keep on building it up also, they'll take us to another height. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And another thing is bhogi. And another way I always bring your attention towards bhog and bhogi and yogi. Bhogi is who does the worldly things at that time, thinking about the enjoyment. But even at the time of the spiritual things, like religious things, Arti, Puja, Path, Dan, Pun, thinks about what I'm going to get out of it. That's a bhogi. So in worldly affairs also, and in the spiritual affairs also, bhogi keeps an eye on the world, the prakriti. Yogi, on the other hand, all the time, the vision is towards the ultimate goal. So even while eating also, while helping also, while doing the yoga also, while doing the selfless service also, constantly aware of the ultimate goal. That's a yogi. Okay. So yogi, even while doing the bhog, remembers the God. And bhogi, even while talking to God, remembers the world. What will I get out of it? God, give me more. God, help me. So talking to God, remembering the world. Yogi, talking to the world, remembering God. That is a clear difference between those two. Okay. So anybody else?
I think that's it, Hershey.
That is it? Okay, all right. Anybody wants to sing? Who wants to sing? Rita, you want to sing? Or do we have Manny or no today?
No, Manny's here. Manny's here.
Manny, why don't you play a little meditative Thank you.